Single mom takes in a mysterious stranger for one night. What happened next will change everything. Rain lashed against the window panes, and the wind howled like a wounded animal. In the cozy little home where Sarah, a 32-year-old single mother, lived with her two spirited kids, Lily and Jake, there was a sense of dread in the air. The staccato of raindrops pulsed like an anxious heartbeat. As a waitress at the local diner, Sarah had seen a world of struggles, but tonight felt different. The tension was palpable, thick enough to slice through. Just as Sarah poured herself a steaming cup of coffee, a loud knock echoed through the house. Her breath hitched. Caution held her hostage for a moment, but as the wind howled louder outside, her heart urged her on. What kind of world left someone out in this relentless storm? With trembling hands, Sarah opened the door. Standing there, soaked to the bone, was a tall man with rugged features. His eyes, shadowed by weariness, held stories of grief and hardship. "I'm Ben," he introduced himself, his voice raspy from the cold. "Can I come in?" Compassion coursed through Sarah. She needed to help him. What would her grandmother have said? She stepped aside, letting this mysterious stranger in. "Come in, quickly," she insisted, her voice steady despite the warning bells ringing in her mind. Ben's presence filled the small kitchen. It was warm inside, a stark contrast to the raging storm outside. Sarah poured him a cup of coffee, watching his hands shake slightly as he wrapped them around the steaming mug. "Thank you," he murmured, then fell silent, the weight of his own burdens pressing heavily upon him. The night wore on as they spoke gently over cups of coffee, revealing pieces of their disjointed lives. Ben was a former soldier, caught in the treacherous grip of homelessness after being unjustly fired from a job he had held dear. Sarah shared tales of sleepless nights, balancing demanding shifts while caring for her children, and the societal judgment that weighed on her like an anchor. Time slipped into an easy exchange until the night thundered again with a sudden knock. A neighbor had seen Ben enter their home and began to spread whispers. Panic flashed across Sarah's heart. The close-knit community had eyes everywhere. They would misunderstand her kindness, painting her as reckless. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Their vulnerabilities laid bare, Sarah's resolve strengthened as she listened to Ben's story. "We can change these situations," she said, the fire in her heart ignited by both the coffee and their conversation. "You are more than what this world has handed you." But as dawn approached, Sarah faced an agonizing choice: stand by her conviction or succumb to the whispers of judgment. With Jake and Lily waking to find this stormy night had changed their world, Sarah now held their fate in her hands. Would compassion be enough to weather the storm of the community's scrutiny, or would fear and prejudice put distance between her and the newfound clarity in her heart? As the first rays of dawn broke through the heavy clouds, the storm began to recede, leaving behind a silence that was deafening. The tranquility felt surreal after the chaos of the night. Sarah watched as Ben shifted uneasily in his chair, his handsome face shadowed with uncertainty. She could see him battling with thoughts that must have felt like chains on his spirit. "Did you sleep at all?" Sarah asked, her voice laced with concern. Ben shook his head. "I've learned to survive sleepless nights," he replied, his tone flat, the weight of his words crashing against her like waves. The kitchen was filled with the scent of fresh coffee and pancakes, a stark contrast to the storm's fury, but the air was heavy with unspoken worries. The rumble of her children waking sounded from the hallway, and Sarah's heart raced. How would they react to this stranger in their home? Lily stumbled into the kitchen, hair a wild mess, rubbing her sleepy eyes. Jake followed, a sleepy grin plastered on his face. "Mom! What's for breakfast?" he asked, his bright eyes darting around before landing on Ben, who remained seated, nervously fiddling with the cup in his hands. "Good morning, kids. This is Ben," she said, forcing a smile. "He's a friend who needed a place to stay for the night." Both children blinked in silence, sizing him up like two curious puppies. Sarah felt a wave of anxiety crash over her, but she held her ground, wanting to show her kids the true meaning of compassion. "Is he gonna stay here for a long time?" Jake asked, tilting his head. Ben shifted uncomfortably, echoes of his past swirling in the back of his mind, reminding him how fleeting moments of kindness could be. "I don't know, buddy," he answered quietly, almost to himself. "Can I sit next to him?" Lily chimed in, breaking the tension with a bright smile that made Ben's heart leap. "Sure, sweet pea," Sarah encouraged, waving her daughter over. To her surprise, Ben's face lit up with an unexpected warmth. The breakfast table turned into an unlikely sanctuary where laughter mingled with serious conversations, the kids oblivious to the complexities surrounding Ben. As Stephanie poured syrup over the pancakes, she felt the warmth of hope blossom within her. But outside, the world was still wrapped in whispers. Sarah could imagine the looks on her neighbors' faces, the judgmental comments that would follow. As she watched her children engage with Ben, a flicker of fear crept in. What if they didn't understand? What if they grew to fear people like him? "Ben, can I ask you something?" Jake interrupted his sister's chatter, his innocent gaze piercing through the air laden with tension. "Sure, buddy," Ben replied, his heart racing as he braced himself for curiosity laced with the brutality of childhood honesty. "Why were you outside in the storm?" Jake asked, and for a moment, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Ben's smile faltered. "Sometimes, life puts you in places you never thought you'd be," he said, his voice firm yet vulnerable. "But it's the kindness of people that can make a real difference." Feeling the weight of his words, Sarah's heart squeezed. In her desire to protect her children, could she also trust them to teach her something? As the breakfast continued, laughter replaced the morning's tension, and Sarah felt a softening in her heart. Yet, in the back of her mind, the ticking clock of judgment loomed louder. When she stepped outside later courageous from the warmth generated within her home, how would she face the community when they began to talk? A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts, spinning her instincts into a whirl of anxiety. Each thud echoed the reality she could no longer escape. Would they shatter the fragile peace she had built? As she glanced at Ben, she knew she was prepared to protect what had formed from the chaos of that stormy night. But the question loomed, who would send the next wave crashing down? The knock grew louder, echoing through the quiet kitchen. Sarah's heart thumped in her chest, a stark reminder of the fine balance she was trying to maintain. The laughter of her children faded, replaced by a palpable tension that settled between them like a thick fog. "Stay here, okay?" Sarah whispered, her eyes darting toward Ben. She didn't want to expose her children to whatever was waiting beyond that door, but she couldn't ignore the responsibility calling her forward. Ben ran a hand through his hair, anxiety flickering across his features. "I can talk to them," he offered, then quickly added, "if you'd like." "No," she replied firmly, surprised at the ferocity of her own response. "I'll handle this." Taking a deep breath, Sarah approached the door. Each step felt as heavy as lead. Was she ready to defend Ben before her neighbors, people who valued appearances and whispered behind closed doors? With a shaking hand, she turned the knob and opened the door. The bright morning light flooded the entryway. Standing before her were two of her neighbors, Rita and Martin. Their brows knitted together, concern mingled with skepticism in their eyes. "Good morning, Sarah," Rita began, her tone rehearsed and concerned. "We heard the storm was pretty bad last night. Just wanted to check in on you and the kids." "Thanks, everything's fine," Sarah replied, wishing she could shut the door again. But the words they wanted to speak hung in the air, waiting. Martin glanced past Sarah, his eyes landing squarely on Ben, who remained seated at the table, out of sight but barely hidden. Is that a stranger in your house? For a fleeting moment, Sarah thought of responding with a sharp retort. Instead, she swallowed hard, looking them in the eye. He's just a friend who needed help. He had nowhere else to go. The silence that followed felt heavy, like the unyielding threat of a storm cloud gathering again. Rita exchanged a glance with Martin, the type that signaled judgment. Sarah, you know how people talk. Rita started, her tone almost pleading. It's not safe to let someone like that into your home, especially with your kids around. The words pierced through the fragile atmosphere. Her kids. The very reason she had opened her heart to Ben. Could she fight against the tide of fear? Ben is not what you think, Sarah said, her voice stronger now. He's just a person who needs compassion just like anyone else. As disbelief flickered across their faces, a quiet strength surged through her. She took a step back, allowing the sunlight to illuminate their expressions. Behind her, she caught a glimpse of Lily and Jake, their innocent laughter still echoing in her ears, undisturbed by the fear surrounding them. I want to let you scare me off, Sarah said, feeling a familiar fire in her chest. If you can't accept that I'm helping someone in need, then maybe you're the ones that ought to reconsider what's really safe. Rita opened her mouth to respond, but the words seemed to dissolve before they could leave her lips. At that moment, Lily's soft voice cut through the tension. Is everyone okay? She asked, appearing at Sarah's side, her eyes wide with curiosity. Martin and Rita's expressions melted into uncertainty. Everything's fine, honey, Sarah assured her, ruffling her daughter's hair. But her gaze remained locked on Ben, who was watching the exchange like a man threading a tightrope, expecting it all to collapse. Sarah could feel the gears of her decision clicking into place. When she acted on that instinct to help, it came from a deeper love, rooted in resilience. Could she continue to hold that space for her children and Ben in a world filled with fear? No matter what they say, we'll be okay, right? She whispered, her words also for herself, bolstered by the warmth of the situation. As Rita and Martin exchanged cautious glances, Sarah stood tall in her doorway, both a shield and a beacon. But would the resolve she had crafted in that moment be tested again? With eyes fixed on the horizon, she could sense another storm brewing, but this time it was not the kind you could see in the clouds. Would they all make it through together? The silence stretched, thick as the air before a storm. Sarah could feel Ben's unease from across the room, pulling at the edges of her resolve. She didn't want to appear weak in front of her neighbors, but uncertainty hung heavy. Would they push their way in, exploiting her moment of vulnerability like sharks sensing blood in the water? Sarah. Rita began again, her voice softening. Please think about what you're doing. This could lead to trouble. For you and your kids. The worry in her neighbor's voice clashed with the fierce determination in Sarah's heart. It was infuriating, how quickly they assumed the worst about Ben. He wasn't a stranger, he was a human, someone looking for solace. Before Sarah could respond, Lily tugged gently at her hand. Mom, who are they? She looked from Sarah to the neighbors, oblivious to the tension crackling around them. They're just checking on us, sweetie, Sarah managed to say, squatting down to meet her daughter's gaze. You don't need to worry. Everything's okay. But as she glanced back at Rita and Martin, their expressions flickered from concern to a judgy kind of disdain. Martin cleared his throat, stepping 1 foot closer. Sarah, you've got to ask yourself if this is the right decision. Do you know anything about this guy? Maybe he's dangerous. The accusation sent a rush of anger through her. Dangerous? You're serious? You think someone who needs help is a threat? A brief flicker of hurt crossed Ben's face. Sarah shot him a reassuring smile as she felt the air of the kitchen shift, becoming thick and electric. Rita shook her head, we care about you and the kids. Just make sure you're being careful. Sarah stood taller. You think I can't protect my family? I brought someone into my home because I believe in kindness. Maybe if you both stepped out of your judgmental bubbles, you'd see beyond the labels. The frail facade of their concern cracked, revealing an unspoken fear of the unknown. Maybe we can help him, Lily chirped, her innocent voice an unexpected beacon breaking through the thick fog. Lily, sweetie, no, Mom. If he's nice, can't we help him, just like how we help people at school? Rita frowned, clearly unsure how to respond. But Sarah felt warmth bloom in her chest at Lily's words. Could she teach her daughter to extend compassion, even in a world that often shut people out? Exactly. Just like at school. Sarah echoed, a fire igniting in her. This is not just about Ben. It's about teaching our kids that helping others is what we do as a community. Martin shifted his weight, his expression a mix of conflict and confusion. He looked at Sarah, then at Lily and Jake, perceptibly softening. Well, just be cautious, Rita finally relented, though her eyes still betrayed concern. As they stepped back, Sarah closed the door. The click sounded final, sealing away their doubts and fears. Behind her, she turned to Ben, whose eyes mirrored her tumultuous emotions. You handled that really well, he said, his voice a quiet relief. I had to, she responded, a new determination rising within her that felt like a flame, warming the corners of her heart. But as she sensed a shadow of doubt creeping back in, the thought struck her, what would tomorrow bring? Would she be able to face not just her neighbors, but whatever past Ben was trying to escape? The air in the kitchen felt charged with unanswered questions. Ben, what if someone comes looking for you? His expression turned serious, the flicker of uncertainty again clouding his features. I don't know, Sarah, but I'll do everything I can to keep you and your kids safe. As he spoke, the warmth of hope mingled with the cold grip of fear. Would their fragile sanctuary stand, or would it shatter in the face of a storm neither could foresee? The sun hung low in the sky, casting long shadows as Ben's words echoed through Sarah's mind. What would they do next? And just as doubt danced in her heart, another knock broke through the quiet, sharper and more insistent than before. The sound of the knock echoed through the kitchen, sharp and demanding. Sarah's heart raced. Who could it be? Memories of Rita's worried face flashed through her mind, and once again, she felt her protective instincts surge. Should I answer it? Ben asked quietly, his voice low, but she could sense his own mix of anticipation and fear. No. I will. Sarah took a deep breath, steadied herself, and walked toward the door, each step feeling heavier than the last. She glanced back at Ben, and the worry in his eyes stoked the fire of her determination. She was in control. She had to be. With a trembling hand, she reached for the door and pulled it open, revealing a man in a weathered leather jacket. His face was familiar, and she felt a stab of recognition. It was Tom, Ben's estranged brother. Sarah, he said, his voice barely concealing his urgency. I need to talk to Ben. Now. Her heart sank. What do you want? Please, this isn't the place. Let me in. No way, she shot back, glancing over her shoulder at Ben. This is my home, and whatever you're here for, you can't just barge in like you own the place. There's no time to waste. Tom's words edged on desperation, and for a moment, she could see at the pain, the brokenness of a family steeped in turmoil. But Ben was part of her family now, and that bond was worth protecting. Sarah, just hear him out, Ben called from the kitchen, his voice steady, even as it trembled with something unspoken. She turned to him, seeing the turmoil in his eyes. Are you sure? She asked. The uncertainty was palpable, and with it came an overwhelming surge of fear. What if Tom's intentions were sinister? What if this was the start of something far worse? Ben nodded, his expression softening. I need to face my past, he said, his words imbued with a sense of resignation that made her heart ache. With a heavy sigh, she stepped aside. Fine, but you stand by me, got it? As Tom stepped over the threshold, she felt a chill race down her spine. The friction in the air intensified like lightning before a storm, threatening to explode. "What do you want?" Ben asked, his voice low but firm as he crossed his arms, a gesture of defiance. Tom hesitated, the tension thick as molasses. "It's about Dad, he's sick, and he's asking for you." Ben's face paled, the color draining away. "Sick? Why didn't you just call?" "Because you cut all ties. You don't get to just pretend he doesn't exist." Tom's face twisted in pain, the fight draining out of him as he suddenly looked vulnerable. "He needs you, Ben. You might not care about what he thinks, but this is your chance to finally say goodbye." Those words hit Sarah like a whip. This wasn't just about Ben's relationship with his father, they were now part of this journey. She could see the internal struggle on Ben's face, and with it, the weight of his past threatening to engulf them all. "Going back won't change anything," Ben replied, his voice trembling. "It'll only reopen old wounds. I left for a reason." "Maybe you should have fought harder for those wounds to heal," Tom shot back, his eyes hardening. Sarah watched as Ben inhaled deeply, the conflict palpable. In that moment, she felt the ground shift beneath her. A choice loomed, heavy and consuming. Could Ben forgive? Could they allow the past to intrude upon their fragile sanctuary? Before she could collect her thoughts, a soft knock rattled the kitchen door again. More insistent this time, urgency edged the sound. "What now?" Sarah shouted, her nerves fraying. "I think we should see who it is," Ben murmured, his gaze darting nervously between the door and Tom. Sarah's chest tightened. What if this storm was just beginning? And just as she opened her mouth to respond, the door swung open again, revealing a woman dressed in a long trench coat, a determined look lighting her eyes. "Ben. We need to talk. You're in danger." The air thickened with apprehension, and Sarah felt the world around her teetering on the brink of chaos. What had she brought into her home, and what would it mean for her family? Ben's eyes widened, shock mixing with confusion as he took a step back. "What?" His voice was barely a whisper, the weight of her words crashing onto him. The woman held her ground, flashes of urgency racing through her features. "I don't have time to explain everything, but your life is in jeopardy. You need to trust me." "Trust you?" Ben's voice cracked, disbelief knitting his brows together. "How can I trust someone who just shows up like this?" Tom shifted, cutting in with a sharp edge. "Why should we believe you? Who are you?" The woman turned her piercing gaze on Tom, her jaw set. "I can't disclose everything right now, but your father's illness isn't just medical. There's something more, something dangerous." Sarah's heart staggered at the mention of danger. Anxiety gripped her gut. What had they walked into? It felt as if shadows were closing in, the walls whispering secrets that made them uneasy. "Listen," the woman continued, her voice softening but still urgent. "We're out of time. I know where he is. I know what's happening." Ben's confusion turned to frustration. "And what exactly is happening? Are you on some kind of mission from my father? You don't know anything about me or my life. Please. I'm here for your safety, not to hurt you more." Her desperation was palpable as she stepped closer. "Your father is wrapped up in things he can't control. If you don't listen to me, it could cost us all." A tense silence enveloped them. Sarah's mind raced. Could Tom possibly have been right? Did Ben's father have ties to something darker? "Ben," she urged quietly, feeling the tension in his shoulders. "We need to figure this out. If there is danger, we have to take it seriously." He watched her, seeming to see her for the first time amidst the heaviness. "What do we do?" he whispered, grappling with helplessness. The woman took a deep breath, hesitating as if weighing her words carefully before responding. "We go to him. It's the only way. But we have to hurry. Time is not on our side." Ben turned to Sarah, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. What if it's a trap? I don't want to put you in danger. Together, we can handle whatever comes. Trust me like you trust me with everything else. She reached out, grasping his hand, grounding him in that moment. Well, Tom interjected, shaking his head in disbelief. I don't like this. We're going to deal with Dad's sickness and the dangers of whatever's going on. What if it blows up in our faces? The woman's gaze fell on Tom. Then be smart about it. We know you've been estranged, but you two have to make a choice. Are you going to stand by and let this burden fall on Ben alone? Tom's jaw clenched, his reservations crashing against the need to protect what little family was left. I don't know if going back is the answer, he muttered reluctantly. Maybe it's time to face the music, Ben replied, his hand tightening around Sarah's. If there's even a chance that we can stop whatever this is, we have to try. As they stood there, the gathering storm outside reflected the emotions swirling inside them. Each of them wrestled with old wounds, uncertain futures, and new commitments to do what was right. Then we leave now, the woman urged. With one last glance back at their kitchen, the heart of their home, now steeped in tension and fear, Sarah knew there was no turning back. They were stepping into a world shrouded in uncertainty, threat, and the possibility of redemption. She took a deep breath, the weight of the moment settling in her chest. What awaited them on the other side of this new journey? Would they be able to find a future amidst the chaos? Let us do this, Ben finally said, determination edging his voice. As they moved towards the door, adrenaline and fear surged within them. They had crossed a threshold into the unknown, but the real question loomed, was it too late to change their destiny? As they stepped outside, the air was thick with the scent of rain, and the distant rumble of thunder echoed ominously. It seemed the storm had only just begun, mirroring the turmoil within each of them. Sarah clutched Ben's hand tightly, her knuckles white, feeling the tension radiating from him. Where do we even start? Tom asked, his voice wavering as they made their way down the porch steps. The woman moved ahead, her determination pulling them in closer. There's a place not far from here. It's where your father is staying, she said, glancing back at them. We should take my car. It'll be quicker. Do you even know if he is safe? Ben's skepticism cut through the air as he followed the woman's lead. How do you know this isn't a trap? The woman stopped, turning to face him with a piercing intensity. I know because I've seen it. I've seen what they're capable of. You all need to understand that I don't want to scare you. I need you to be ready for anything. When we get there, stay close. A chill ran through Sarah. The weight of the woman's words hovered in her mind. What could be so dangerous, she whispered to Ben as they followed the woman down the slick pavement. I don't know, he replied, his voice heavy with uncertainty. But I'll protect you, no matter what. Tom plodded behind them, wrestling his own fears. For a second, he caught sight of the woman's profile, a hardened resolve etched onto her face. What if your father is involved in something that put all of us at risk? He muttered, grappling with the strain of old wounds. Right now, we need to be united, not divided, Sarah interjected, trying to soothe the tension. We can't afford to let doubt tear us apart. The woman led them to a battered sedan parked a few houses down. As they piled in, the storm descended with fury, pounding raindrops like fists against the windshield. I'll drive, she said, sliding into the driver's seat. Buckle up, and keep your eyes open. Ben sat in the back, his heart racing, the darkness swirling outside somehow feeling all too familiar. What's the point of all this? What am I supposed to do when we get there? I'll guide you, the woman replied, gripping the steering wheel. But you have to be ready to face the truth. Your life and your father's depends on it. With that, she revved the engine and shot forward into the rain-soaked streets. The tensions between them crackled like the thunder above, each jolt of the car amplifying their anxiety. As they drove further into the night, the city transformed around them. The familiar neighborhoods melted into shadowy corners, the glow of streetlights casting eerie shapes on their faces. Sarah's heart pounded. It felt surreal, as if they were entering a realm that belonged to nightmares. "I can't shake this feeling," Tom said, glancing out the window. "What if we're walking into a danger that we can't come back from? But what if we don't go?" Ben shot back, his voice sharp. "What if we just let whatever this is overtake us? We owe it to Dad to fight." The woman shot a glance in the rearview mirror, her eyes revealing a moment of understanding. Sometimes the scariest path is the one that leads to the truth. In the midst of the chaos, Sarah felt a flicker of something, hope, perhaps. They were still together, still facing this threat as a unit. But as the rain poured down, drowning out their thoughts, she couldn't shake the gnawing doubt that clung to her heart. Minutes later, they turned down a dark alleyway, where buildings loomed like silent sentinels. The woman slowed the car, her gaze fixed ahead. "This is it." They all felt it, the shift in the air. A gut-wrenching knot of fear tightened around Sarah's stomach. What would they find? A deeper truth? A new danger? She reached for Ben's hand, squeezing it tightly as the woman parked and turned off the engine. "Just remember," the woman said, a steely determination flickering in her voice, "once we get out of this car, there's no going back." They all took a collective breath, the weight of the moment crashing down on them like the storm beyond the windows. What awaited them in the shadows ahead? Would they find the father they feared they might lose, or something far darker lurking in the night? The air inside the car felt heavier now. It was as if the very fabric of space around them was charged with unspoken fears and unknown possibilities. Sarah could feel the moisture pooling in her palms as she clutched Ben's hand tighter. She focused on the warmth of his skin, as if that simple touch could empower them. "Let us do this," the woman said, breaking the silence. Her voice was steadier now, like a soldier rallying troops before battle. "Stay close to me." They all climbed out, the rain drenching them instantly. Each step they took felt monumental, a march toward the unknown that loomed just ahead. The woman led the way, her silhouette cutting through the sheets of rain, moving with purpose as if the storm, once a hindrance, fueled her determination. Tom hesitated as they approached a narrow doorway, framed by ivy that sprawled like fingers reaching for the rooftop. "Are we sure about this?" he asked, his voice cracking. "What if we regret it?" "Regret is nothing compared to what might happen if we don't try," Sarah replied, trying to infuse bravery into her own voice. "We can't leave him, our dad, in danger." As they crossed the threshold, an unease settled over them. The dim lighting revealed peeling paint and shadows that danced against the crumbling walls. A flickering fluorescent bulb hung ominously in the corner, casting an unnatural glow. Sarah shivered as the air turned colder, each breath a reminder of the palpable tension. "Follow me," the woman instructed, her tone commanding. They wound through tight hallways, the sound of their footsteps muffled by the damp carpet. Finally, they reached a door at the end of the hallway. The woman paused, glancing back at them one last time. "What you're about to see, it might change everything. Prepare yourselves." With trembling hands, she turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. A rush of stale air filled the room, heavy with secrets. It was dimly lit, but the outline of a figure slumped in a chair came into view. "Dad?" Ben's voice wavered, a mix of hope and apprehension threading through his words. The figure stirred, and for a moment, time stood still. "Ben?" "Sarah?" His voice was a fragile whisper beneath the weight of his exhaustion. "Dad!" Ben rushed forward, but the woman intercepted him, a firm grip on his arm. "Wait. We need to assess the situation. We don't know if he is safe," she cautioned. "But he is right there," Tom protested, his own emotions spilling over the edges of his resolve. The woman took a step closer, looking intently at their father. "We need to be sure he is not harmed, or under their influence." "Under what influence?" Sarah asked, dread pooling in her stomach. She felt frayed, her heart dancing between hope and despair as she took a cautious step forward. As her eyes adjusted to the gloom, she noticed the bruises on her father's arms, the scare marks that etched a horrific story they hadn't yet begun to understand. "Dad, what happened?" Ben's voice broke again, agony threaded through each word as he took in their father's condition. "Ben, it's complicated." His voice trailed off, pain shadowing his features. "You shouldn't have come here." Those words hung in the air, heavy with warning. The storm outside intensified, the wind howling like an angry animal. "But we had to," Sarah insisted, stepping closer. "We're here for you. We'll figure this out together." In that moment, as she looked into her father's tired eyes, something shifted. Clarity broke through the mist of uncertainty. If they were going to uncover the truth, it had to be now. "Then help me," he rasped, his gaze flitting between each of them. "Help me before it's too late." As the storm raged outside, so too did the brewing storm of revelations within that room. What exactly had they stumbled into? And what kind of danger lurked not just outside, but inside their own family? Heart pounding, Sarah leaned closer, needing answers. "What do you mean, too late?" The crackle of lightning lit up the room, and in that fleeting moment, she saw it clearly, shadows darting in the corners, threats lurking unseen. The truth promised to reveal itself, but would they be prepared for what came next? The shadows flickered, and for a heartbeat, Sarah felt the weight of all their fears coalesce into a singular focus. "Dad, please. You have to tell us what is going on." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried the tone of desperation that echoed in the room. Their father's gaze darted to each of them, his expression a cascade of unspoken words and burdened thoughts. It's not just me," he finally managed, his breath hitched. "They want something I've got." Ben clenched his fists, rage bubbling beneath the surface. "What did you get us into, Dad? This isn't a game." He took a step toward him, eyes blazing. "Ben, stop." Tom interjected, trying to rein in Ben's anger. "We need to hear him out. This is serious." The room felt tighter, the walls closing in as their father's breathing grew erratic. The tension was palpable, each moment stretching like an elastic band ready to snap. "Listen to me." He struggled to push himself upright, wincing at the pain that spread across his features. "I didn't choose this. They're part of something bigger. Something dangerous. They have been watching us, waiting for the right moment." "Who? What do you mean?" Sarah pressed, feeling the ground beneath her shift. "I can't explain everything now." He paused to catch his breath, the shadows dancing in his eyes. "But if you're here, you'll be part of this. You need to know that the danger, it's lurking closer than you realize." Lightning cracked outside, illuminating the small room in stark white. Sarah noticed a mirror hanging crookedly on the wall, her reflection distorted and anxious. It felt wrong, like they were on the edge of something they couldn't comprehend. "Just tell us what we need to do," she urged, clenching Ben's hand so tightly that she wondered if he felt her fear pulsing through him. Their father's nod was slow, agonizing, as if each movement required immense effort. "You need to protect yourselves. They'll stop at nothing to get to me or to you." The urgency in his voice sent shivers down Sarah's spine. "Stop who?" Tom shouted, frustration boiling over. "Just say it. People who want power, control, they've infiltrated everywhere." The mention of power made Sarah's skin crawl. She exchanged worried glances with Ben and Tom. "We're just kids. We can't fight some underground organization." "It's already come to our doorstep," he replied gravely. "If they come for me, they'll come for you next." A sound echoed outside, sharp and heavy. The wind whipped against the building, rattling the windows as if something was trying to break through. "Is that them?" Ben's voice was shaky, eyes wide with apprehension. "No, I don't think so, yet." Their father leaned forward, voice low and intent. But soon. You don't have much time. Then what do we do? Sarah's mind raced, swirling with panic and determination. This was bigger than she'd ever imagined. Trust each other. Stick together. Stay low, stay quiet. I'll do my best to protect you, but you're the only ones who can protect yourselves. The gravity of his words settled like a stone in Sarah's gut. She felt small in that moment, yet a fierce resilience rose within her. She knew they had to act, but how? What if we get caught? Ben whispered as the storm outside howled angrily. Then we fight back, Tom stated firmly, the fire in his voice igniting something inside the others. With a decisiveness that felt foreign yet liberating, Sarah exhaled, we can't let fear paralyze us. We're stronger as a family, we have to be. Their father looked at them warmly, pride and fear intertwining on his weary face. Just promise me you won't lose hope. And in that moment, amidst the chaos of the storm and their fractured world, they made a silent vow. They would not give up, not now, not ever. But as the sounds of the storm reached a deafening crescendo, a loud crack split through the air, sending ripples of dread coursing through them. The door shuddered, thick wood creaking under the strain. What was that? Tom asked, stepping back. The air thickened with dread as they waited for the answer, hearts pounding as one. And just like that, another sound answered from the darkness beyond the door, a deliberate knocking, steady and ominous. The true storm was just beginning. Every heartbeat felt like a countdown as the knocking echoed against the door, taunting them with its rhythmic insistence. The veil of uncertainty loomed heavy, and Sarah felt her breath hitch in her throat. The sense of danger had transformed into a tangible presence, filling the room with a cold unease. Who is it this time? Ben whispered, his eyes darting toward the door as if whatever lay beyond it could see right through them. The woman, standing near the door, steeled herself. We're not alone anymore, she said, words brimming with urgency. We need to be prepared for anything. Sarah locked eyes with Ben, a surge of determination twining their spirits. We can't let whatever is out there stop us from protecting our family. We promise to stand together even if it's scary. Unexpectedly, the sound of the knocking stopped. Silence enveloped the room like a heavy cloak, but it was fleeting. A new sound broke through, footsteps heavy and purposeful pounding against the wooden floor outside. Get ready, the woman whispered, her eyes narrowing. They all knew there was no hiding from whatever was coming. We have to do something, Tom said in a rush, his voice trembling. Do we run? No, we stand our ground. Sarah interjected, her pulse racing but clarity sharp in her mind. She released Ben's hand only to move closer to her father. We face this together. As the footsteps approached, the door trembling against the pressure, her father reached for her, a desperate plea in his eyes. But then it seemed he saw something, a flicker of determination behind her fear. You're right, Sarah. Together. With a firm tug, the woman swung the door open wide, revealing a group of imposing figures cloaked in dark jackets. The room's dim ambience lit for a moment, unveiling their faces, hardened by life's unseen battles. What do you want? The woman's voice cut through the panic like a blade. Ben, one of the figures, stepped forward, his voice gravelly and unforgiving. We've come for you. Chaos erupted as Ben instinctively took a step back, his eyes wide with fright. Why? What do you want from me? You're involved whether you like it or not, the man said, his expression resolute. Your father has made deals that have consequences with us. And now you're a part of it. Don't you dare come near him. Sarah shouted, pushing instinctively in front of Ben. You'll have to go through me first. You think you can protect him? Another member smirked, their eyes glinting with dark amusement. Foolish. But then, something within her snapped, a mixture of defiance and love clashing against fear. You don't know the strength of this family, she declared. If you think we'll cower, you'll find we're a force you never expected." A moment of disbelief passed between them, the tension so thick it felt electric. Those hardened figures hadn't expected this response. Their bravado faltered, just for a heartbeat. "Enough!" the leader barked, stepping forward, anger sparking in his eyes. But Sarah held her ground, an unyielding force against their intimidation. Hand in hand, Ben, Tom, and the woman stepped closer, a solid wall of togetherness. "You'll have to fight through all of us," Tom asserted, his voice steadier than before. "What a lovely little family reunion you've got," the leader scoffed. "But all that love won't save you if you don't comply." "It will protect us," Ben spoke, his voice strong yet confident, stepping forward. "I don't want anything to do with whatever dark legacy you're caught up in. I want to be a pawn in your game." The man's expression shifted, something unreadable flashed behind his eyes before he pulled back slightly, a flicker of doubt creeping in. "You're making a mistake, boy." Without hesitation, Sarah stepped further into the breach, rage and resolve racing within her. "No. You're the one making the mistake if you think you can intimidate us. This ends now. Whatever debts you think you have with him or his father, you can take them elsewhere." A moment passed, electric and heavy, before the tension shattered. Instead of retreating, the figures hesitated, glancing at one another, uncertainty crackling in the air. "Fine," the leader said, each word dripping with disdain. "But you're only buying time. This isn't over." With one final, contemptuous glare, they turned, retreating into the stormy night, the door swinging shut behind them, leaving Sarah's heart racing and her breath shaky. As the weight of the moment lifted, a wave of relief washed over her. "We did it." Tom breathed, the realization setting in. Ben turned to Sarah, gratitude filling his eyes. "Thank you," he said softly, taking her hands. "Thank you for believing in us, for fighting." The moment hung heavy with unsaid emotions. They all gathered forward, leaning against one another, an unbreakable bond forged in shared goodness and resilience. "I guess we have a story to tell," their father murmured, weary yet proud. "But now we stand united, unshaken. Together." As thunder rolled in the distance, the tumultuous clouds seemed to mirror the tempest within them, yet there was a sliver of new light breaking through. They knew the battle may not be over. The whispers of danger lingered, but in their hearts blossomed an unshakable truth: they would face every storm, every challenge together as a family. And with that vow repeat in the silence, hope pulsed stronger than fear. They were ready for whatever else came their way. So much lay ahead. But if this was their moment of transformation, Sarah felt it deep within her, steadying her resolve and igniting a fierce spirit inside. As they turned away from the door, they stepped back toward the warmth of their home. Now, more than ever, they were ready to embrace the journey ahead, knowing that together, they could conquer anything. If you've enjoyed following this journey and want to keep up with more exclusive stories like this, you need to subscribe right now to our channel. Leave a like to show your support and help feed the algorithm. That's how these stories can reach others who need hope. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters, and only true fans understand how much these actions can change lives.